Welcome to the Uncharted 4 Bounty Hunter DLC weapon guide. In this video we'll be discussing each weapon inside the Bounty Hunter's DLC, giving you the stats taken from the game, also stats we've tried to calculate ourselves to give you a better representation of what they actually mean, and we will also go over which we believe is best that will suit your playstyle. These weapons include the USAN 12, the Harrison 1890, the RKL 155, the DC single action, and the Lowe S. You will notice some of these weapons are quite similar to those that are already in the game. However, we will be trying to do a comparison as well to tell you which one is actually better, or even which one's better suited to your playstyle. First up we have the Lowe S fully automatic assault rifle. This gun should be compared to guns like the AK-47, HS-39 and Arrowhead. I've had much more experience playing with all the latter weapons. However, the Lowe S definitely has some benefits to it. Compared to all the fully automatic assault rifles in the game, the Lowe S has the highest damage model, however it has the lowest rate of fire to compensate for that. So as you can see in the gameplay, it does take 3 headshots and 6 body shots to down an enemy. If you compare these stats with our previous videos on all the other weapons in the game, you can see that this is one of the most highest damage weapons in the game. What makes this weapon even more dangerous is the fact that it's fully automatic, and also the magazine is very respectable, as at max you can kill up to 3 enemies with this single magazine, and that's with no attachments on the gun. Taking a closer look at the recoil pattern for this gun, it's basically somewhere in between the XER and the HS-39. The XER has a lot of side horizontal recoil because its rate of fire is really high. However, this has a high damage and that's why it has a lot of horizontal recoil. Also, this has vertical recoil, and the HS-39's recoil is practically more or less vertical. But like I said, this is basically somewhere in between both of those. Comparing this to something like the AK-47, the AK-47 has quite a tight grouping of recoil. This is very vertical and also horizontal, and you can see that it kicks a lot more. And clearly this is due to the higher damage this weapon has. Also, it has a very respectable reload time of 2 seconds, blind fire is fantastic, and it's really good at all ranges. I can see the Lowe S becoming very popular quite quickly with players that usually use the HS-39 or even the AK-47. The DC single action is now the second revolver pistol inside the Uncharted 4 multiplayer. Now, obviously overall this is much better than the Jackal that is in the game. The DC is worth 1 loadout point, whereas the Jackal isn't worth any. Also, the DC has a higher damage model. Now the headshots are the same, so it takes 2 headshots to down an enemy. However, when it comes to the body shots, the Jackal takes 4 and the DC takes 3. Also, the reload times are different. The reload times for the Jackal is about 3 seconds, whereas the DC has a 2.5 second reload time. The difference comes in magazine size and also rate of fire. The DC has a lower rate of fire and a higher magazine size, whereas the Jackal has a lower magazine with a higher rate of fire. If you are a fan of revolvers, I personally think you'd prefer the DC over the Jackal. I think it is all round a much better weapon still, even though the rate of fire is much less. Now when it comes to recoil, revolvers don't really have too much recoil because they do fire off single shots at a time. The recoil is slightly different to the Jackal, but it's nothing too major. Blind firing with a revolver is probably not the best idea, however I am giving you a demonstration of what it is like to blind fire on a stationary target. Like I said, I don't highly recommend it with a revolver, but if you do have to, this is what you should expect. And I recommend using this weapon in either close to medium range. That'll be where this weapon excels. However, it is a revolver and you can use it at further ranges if you're accurate enough. The Harrison 1890 is the only weapon of its kind in its class. It's a single shot lever action rifle. It's not a sniper rifle, it's an assault rifle. In my opinion, this was the best addition of DLC weapon in this game. It's very diverse and very different compared to every other weapon that is already in this multiplayer. I feel as if this weapon has a lot of potential in the hands of skilled players. The damage model is very high, and also the rate of fire is respectable enough, whereas you can still take on enemies that use full automatic weapons. You need to be 100% accurate with your shot to land them off perfectly. Now this weapon's damage model is a 2-hit headshot and a 3-hit body shot. This can only be compared to weapons like the Metler, which is not very similar to this, and the sniper rifles, so somewhere in between the Metler and the sniper rifles. Taking a look at the rate of fire along with the recoil of this weapon, the recoil is barely nothing since it is only firing off one shot at a time. However, the rate of fire is still quite respectable. You would think it would be really slow, however the lever action animation doesn't take too long. The closest comparison of weapon to the Harrison is probably the M14. It's more or less like an M14 without a scope on it. Now, if you think that the M14 does quite a lot of damage and you quite like that weapon, however you're not a fan of the scoped in mode, then this is probably the weapon to go for. I'm now showing you a demonstration of what it's like to blind fire with this weapon. I don't recommend it at all. I prefer that you had a secondary weapon that was either fully automatic or a semi-automatic sidearm that you're really good at blind firing with. Now the damage model is obviously fantastic. The reload time is quite long at 4 seconds as it needs to load in each bullet for the animation. And I definitely recommend this at medium to long range because that's where every other weapon would struggle. If you are in a difficult situation, you can load in one bullet and fire off that one single shot since this is lever action. The RECOL 155 is another fully automatic sidearm similar to the Fossa, however this has different characteristics to the Fossa and in my opinion makes it also better than the Fossa. The RECOL's damage model is a 7-hit headshot and a 10-hit body shot, which is slightly better than the Fossa. In my opinion, the RECOL is another weapon that can easily replace some primary weapons. Now, if you're a big fan of fully automatic weapons and you also like to have the strafe speed there, and you also feel as if most of your gun battles are happening in close to medium range, I highly recommend using a sidearm as your primary weapon. I mean, you'd be surprised how well you actually do with a weapon like the RECOL. And even if they have strafe speed attached to either an assault rifle or even a submachine gun, your strafe speed is still much higher without any attachments on a sidearm, so you're still going to be outstrafing them. The rate of fire in the Fossa is slightly higher than the RECOL, however the recoil pattern for the RECOL is much better. It has a tighter grouping, different to that of the Fossas where it does have a lot of horizontal recoil as well as vertical recoil. This has quite a tight grip similar to the AK-47. Even though this weapon has a higher damage and a very respectable recoil pattern, you're still only going to be able to take out one enemy with one magazine on this gun with no attachments. Obviously, because this weapon is fully automatic, it's going to have great blind fire, so there's no surprise there. I recommend this weapon at medium to close range. It does do better at medium range than the Fossa does, and the reload time is 2 seconds, so very similar to the other sidearms in the game. The final weapon of the Bounty Hunters DLC is the USAN shotgun. Now this is a shotgun heavy weapon that's been added to the game, and what makes it very different is the spread. Now of course every shotgun has a large spread, but this has an extra large spread, which means at medium range you're able to shoot multiple enemies at once. Now all my demonstrations for this weapon are at close range and only on one enemy, so the headshot damage is a 2-hit headshot and is a 2-hit body shot as well. So it's very consistent if you're at close range. However, if you're at a medium range and you're trying to take out multiple enemies, it will be quite different. Now in this next clip you'll be able to see what the large spread is like and also the rate of fire of this weapon. The rate of fire is much quicker than any other shotgun in this game, and also the spread is much larger than every other shotgun in this game as well. Also you'll notice a large drum magazine, which means you can practically fire for days. Now we're also going to show you a clip of blind fire and how that works with this gun. So if you are at a longer range, the damage does drop off quite a bit, as you can see. And if you are a lot closer, it does a lot more damage because the spread is compact into a smaller area. Now if you do get further and further away from your enemy, it's going to do much less damage because the spread's going to miss a couple of shots and you're going to be firing sort of mid-air. I think this was a pretty cool addition to the game because it is quite different to the other shotguns. However, you do need to know when and when not to use it. As you can tell, it has a respectable fire rate for a shotgun, and also the reload time is 2 seconds for that large drum magazine, which is also pretty cool. So that's been our gun guide on the Bounty Hunters DLC weapons. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have had recommendations from our subscribers saying that we should cover the rate of fire of each weapon. Now, if we are able to calculate this at a later point, we'll make a new video just covering the rate of fire of each weapon. However, it is a difficult thing to try and work out and try and calculate. We'll also be making a new video on the mystical that was added in the Bounty Hunters DLC, so definitely subscribe for that. That'll be coming out fairly soon. It's in the works just now actually. Another thing we were asked to make was a booster video. Now we will be making a booster video. It won't be as well edited as this video, so we will put it on the second channel that we have. So if you go over and subscribe over there, we'll be covering each of the boosters, including the new boosters added in the Bounty Hunters DLC as well. We will now look into making gun reviews on games like Battlefield 1 and Gears of War 4, which are releasing fairly soon. We will still cover any DLC that's coming out for Uncharted 4, and we do also have a cinema mode video also planned for Uncharted 4 as well. So stay tuned for all of that. And finally, we will be live streaming more Uncharted 4 gameplay on our second channel. So if you go over and subscribe over there, we will be making a couple more videos, and also we'll do live streams over there. If you're not already following us on Twitter, definitely go ahead and do that. Any sort of upcoming videos we might have, we'll release or announce on Twitter first to allow you to know what videos are coming next on our channels. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel, and thanks for watching.